the Pope? He is the Emperor of Rome. Rome never died, never faded away. It became the Vatican. What is the Vatican? It is the priesthood of all of the old pagan religions of Rome, built upon the deception that they are Christian. Can man change the orders of God? Can man elevate himself above God? No. Then why did the Pope change the Sabbath from Saturday to Sunday, the venerable day of the worship of the sun Osiris? Why in the outer courtyard of the Vatican is there a temple of the sun, an obelisk, and a reflecting pool built as a fountain around the base of the obelisk? Because what we're talking about in Dealey Plaza and in Washington, D.C. exists also in the Vatican. And I'm not trying to insult Catholics, I'm just trying to tell you the truth.
Citizens of America, here's some stuff that you really need to know. First of all, Jews make up less than 2% of the population of your country, but they hold every senior level cabinet position in the Biden administration except Secretary of Defense. I mean, just look at this list. And you have to ask yourself, are these people after your best interests? Are they going to do what's best for America, or are they going to do what's best for Israel? You see, the whole world knows the reality that Israel treats America like a farm. They treat you guys like cattle, like farm animals. Every single hardworking American works every day and pays their taxes. Those taxes are supposed to go to improving America and making the country better for you and your children. But instead, that money is sent overseas to Israel. America gives more aid to Israel than any other country. In 1999, the US government signed an MOU saying that they were going to pay a minimum of $2.67 billion annually for Israel for the next 10 years.
I was in the astral plane and there was a team there and everybody in the team had powers. The land was radiated. Somehow people had become infected and sick. To a point where, wow, this is crazy because it's almost what is even happening right now. I had this dream written. It was like at least 14 years ago. Everybody was fenced in like they were on quarantine. And they were like evil. If anything you could think of as evil, this is how they were acting. And in that mode, and where I was at, especially spiritually, is I was in the army of the Lord in this case. And all I wanted to do was kill demons, fight demons. So when I saw these beings that were infected and how evil they were, I jumped over the gate and I started beating on one of them. And I was beating it and beating it and beating it. And this was going on in the dream. And it was dead clearly after I was beating it. But I started to feel the transmissions from this team. And this team was saying, you see what you're doing? You're becoming it. And then I looked and I had become infected by it because I was beating it. So what that meant to me is that the more that I keep trying to fight this war in that same mindset that they're fighting it with, I'm only becoming them. This is not a fight. Good will always triumph. It's just a winning team. There's a time and a place here. There's a period that goes on. And then in the end of the game, the king and the pawn go in the same box. So what I'm saying is that there's a weight in the measure of the period and time in which is this all what we're calling life right now is going to transpire. You need to make the best of it. And I've always seen that the people that have come from the craziest sediment end up growing into the most beautiful, abundantly rich flowers. And that does become difficult to alchemize when you're thinking about the pain and the abuse. There is no excuse for this. It's okay with that. That's not what we're doing here. But what we're saying is that there is a power that is greater. That if you wanted to really heal from this, you would need to access that power because that's the power that heals those kind of things. And when you look in the world, they don't have that kind of power yet. They have a hard time healing people that have been through sexual traumas and those kind of things. They haven't unlocked that energy yet. So if you truly thought that you wanted to really do something for beings that have experienced this kind of thing, you would really unlock your Kundalini to heal them, not to kill more beings, to create only a repetition of the same thing and then to become infected with it by yourself. So you're not a killer, you're a healer. And those words are very similar, but in many ways they're different. So you have to learn that fine line. That's what I was saying, is discernment. You need laser. You need to raise Lazarus, or the tool that allows you to cut to where you don't hurt something, you heal it. It's like if I got to take a tumor off your brain, I can't cut too deep into your brain. You see what I mean? So you got to know how to move through this. And this kind of behavior, I want to kill them, I want to destroy them. And I felt that power and energy before, but I also felt its limitation. It's like being in the game and you need to score the final point, but you're so distracted. You're not in Zen, which is another name for Hermes, by the way, which is Zoroaster. You're not in Zen. You're in something else. And then you're not unlocked anyway. You're just rage. This is what will happen to you. And I'm not speaking to you. I'm speaking to myself. So just remember, if nobody's going to tell you what really should be done, maybe nobody will, because you're beyond reproach. Where are your parents? Are they going to be able to tell you how in which to carry your energy? So this is what you left me with to give to you, is just this awareness that, look, I've been through everything that you're talking about. I've slayed these beings before in the astral plane, chained down demons, sealed them with talismans, and watched them beat on the faceplate of what I've chained them in, only to find 7 years later them return and to wreak havoc on my life. And then realize that maybe I could have handled that a different way. And maybe those entities are in need of actually something too. And if I happen to be in a space to be able to communicate with them, maybe I would have been able to impart that on them with my power rather than destroy them with my power. Because that would have been the same thing as if I got introduced into another world and then my teacher or my guide said, finish him. He's not worthy of returning into existence. You see what I mean? So the same thing we get is the same thing we give is the same thing that we're going to get. And we need to really realize how much power that holds in our lives and how we make decisions every single day that really govern where we're going.
Advanced spiritual intelligence is on the rise. Follow to continue this legend.
What if healing was more than a moment? What if it was a sacred season? Introducing Summer Solstice Blessings. Over 35 pages of rituals, affirmations, and reflections. Align your soul with solar rhythms, created by Sacred Ashram Ministries. Available now on Amazon Kindle and paperback. Get the full album and the guide on our website as well, sacredashramministries.org. Your next transformation, it isn't just waiting, it's already rising. Summer Solstice Blessings, order today.
There's a law in physics that basically says that when you have energy that is vibrating at a particular frequency, within 17 seconds, other energy like that will be attracted to it. So if I'm having a positive thought or a negative thought, then what happens is that energy is attracted to it. I have other thoughts that are like that thought. So if you do that 17 seconds, for 68 seconds, then momentum begins to occur. Let's say that I'm normally, all of our emotions have a frequency to it. So if I'm in despair or anger or worry, all of those are lower, denser frequencies. You get into things like contentment, happiness, joy, love. Those are higher, faster frequencies. So let's say that I normally live in contentment. And that's my set point, because that's where I live. I think about that all the time. That's what my makeup is, that sort of thing. So I'm driving down the highway. All of a sudden a car cuts me off and I get angry. So now I'm in the lower, denser frequencies. And so then I go back to the office and I'm telling all my colleagues, here's what happened. This knucklehead cut me off. Go home, tell my wife that. What am I doing? I'm vibrating angry energy. So I go to the supermarket and there is somebody in line. I have 3 items and I'm getting in line and somebody ahead of me has 38 items. And the guy that's running the cash register, it's his first day and he's not doing very well. He's very slow. Is that a coincidence? No, it's something for me to get angry about. So I'm attracting into my world whatever it is that I'm vibrating.
Probably none of us will have a job. There will be, but in that benign scenario, there will be universal high income, not universal basic income, universal high income. There will be no shortage of goods or services. And I think the benign scenario is the most likely scenario, probably, 80% likely, if you ask, in my opinion. The question will not be one of lacking goods or services. You'll have, everyone will have access to as much in the way of goods and services as they would like. The question will really be one of meaning, of how, if the computer can do, and the robots can do everything better than you, then what does your life have meaning?
Business. If you're a legal firm, you have no obligation to hire people who support baby murderers.
Actually, Hamas started this whole thing. Remember October 7th? Actually, that's wrong. Before October 7th, Israeli security forces killed 248 Palestinians, and 40 of them were children, and that was just this year. And if you want to go back further than that, we can look at the recent history of war crimes committed by the Israeli government. Operation Protective Edge in 2014, Operation Pillar of Defense in 2012, Operation Cast Lead in 2009.
What started each one of those operations? Islamic barrages of rockets into civilian centers in Israel. That's what started each one of these operations. I love this moron. I guess the idea here is that, if you point out that what has caused the current conflict is the massacre of 1,500 Jews, like, well, before that, Israel killed other Palestinians. You're like, yeah, but why would they do that? And the answer is because they were associated with terrorist groups. And he's like, yeah, but what about the conflict before? Oh, you mean because the terrorists were firing rockets into Israel? It's an infinite regress of dumb here. Just name a bunch of operations without actually explaining why the operations were initiated.
Yeah, but you don't mention why Cast Lead happened. Hamas fired rockets.
The fierce ones show up when the shadows are thick. Black Tara don't wait for permission. She moves in power. She's the flame that clears old contracts. The storm that ends what's no longer aligned. She don't blink at chaos. She commands it. Her protection ain't soft. It's sacred, stern, and divine. She watches over the warrior soul. If you're walking through fire, she's already inside it.
Illuminate the temple within. We rise through the shadows. Protection is sacred.
You decided to party till the lights came on. Now you got to clean up. Don't spend too much time in the finger pointing and the surprise and the shock, because it's a whole world of stage. It's all been put together for you. They will be WWE wrestling in a few years together in cages, if you may. R. Kelly, all of them, if you may, if allowed to. Now it's about you specifically. And advanced intelligence here is not playing the game either. They say on their side, they appreciate power. They have activated AWAS. This is the Horus of the Aeon. Okay, they've surrounded themselves by another narrative, another lure. Who cares if it's the truth or not? What is truth? They believe it. You see what I mean? They're great wild beast, Aleister Crowley, McGregor Mathers, Coot Hume, and all the rest of them have cooked up an entire spiritual system that puts on the top of it supreme supernatural intelligence, which they have a picture of, and they call AWAS. His name starts with AI. Also, the last reference of AI is only biblically as a city that was completely destroyed. So what are we talking about? We're simply talking about the direction that this could go if these avatars don't move in with power. See, because the natural progression of humanity right now, super intelligence is a part of it because that's the as below version. But as above is, we should be as a society dealing with our third eyes. You see, like some people are just like clueless to what are we supposed to be doing here? I mean, the natural progression actually is for the species to actually integrate with even the trees and things that contain the information and the states and the way of being that opens one up to the next stage of your evolutionary honor, like what you really become next. That's actually what we should be doing right now. So don't act like that. We're like, we don't know what to do as a society and to make it grow. Society only gets growth when it comes to the full awareness of its spiritual power, not technological power. Okay? Technological power is a tool. It runs side by side. But then you got to understand, though, okay, well, Seven, if what you say is true and that advanced intelligence here, that means spiritual intelligence is here too, advanced spiritual intelligence, the next stage of it, not this previous one where we can't even trust you with the powers. Can't get the power, go hurt his mom with the power. I can't stand her. I think the universe is telling me to, what? Beings that don't have purpose, chakra centers that don't know themselves, all those kind of things, they don't match really well with power. It just creates the same situation over and over again that we're dealing with now. But as I said before, we are really, really in tune right now with making sure that beings that are ready to make that next leap for their life, that they get that power that's necessary.
NASA. So here's the thing. NASA isn't a space agency. NASA is the World Intelligence Agency. Everyone reports to them. FBI, CIA, KGB, CCP. Well, why would they lie about the shape of the Earth? What difference does it make? NASA was created right after Project High Jump when Admiral Byrd flew out in Antarctica. On the other side of the South Pole, they found land bigger than the United States, filled with resources. Look at that. From Middle America, he would be in where South Africa is or where Australia is. And another continent the size of the United States that no one has ever seen or set foot upon? What does that mean? What if he went from Middle America over what they call Antarctica and then found another continent out here?
Then that would destroy our whole worldview of reality.
Now, what if there's other civilizations here? What if these are where the controllers of the world live? Okay, what if...
I'm getting chills right now.
Because the reality, your soul is going, yes, listen, right? Get rid of your programmed mind. People don't realize, well, Russia would have ratted us out and this and that. They're all in it together. Everything that you know is a lie. The United Nations map, Flat Earth map, International Maritime Organization, Flat Earth map, World Meteorological Organization, Flat Earth map, International Civil Aviation Organization. These are the things that control the world. Why do they all have Flat Earth maps?
Well, I don't know. Artistically, maybe they couldn't.
Artistically? Is that your explanation? Now, let me ask you a question. If this is where we live, would you call this the outer space?
Sure.
What is it? More land? Extra territory? Extra terra?
Extraterrestrials.
Extraterrestrials from where?
Outer space.
Bingo. So why does it matter? Then when you understand that we're actually at the center of creation, this place was built for us, and we have natural law which says that nobody can take our free will away. Once you understand that nobody has control over you, you take your power back. You stop feeding this beast system that we're in. Globers think they know everything, but they don't know anything. And it's only for those that are willing to look and understand and see why it matters that get it. You know, once you get it, you can't unget it.
There's no Batman coming to save us. So when are we going to wake up, left and right, and say there's something wrong here? But they got you an ideology, you fucking moron. They think that you're going to make abortion illegal and that they're going to try to make your kids gay, and they got you two going at it while they fuck all of us. Yeah. You fuckers go at it. That's what's going on right now. That's the ideology that they have the lines drawn. And they play these strings. Meanwhile, these assholes are on Capitol Hill at the best restaurants in DC, flying on private jets, preaching to you about climate control while they're sipping down bottles of the most expensive wine paid for by their lobbies, while me and you don't even have enough fucking money to feed our families. That 2 packs of Doritos, I couldn't believe what groceries costed last week when I went to go buy groceries. I was looking, I said, yo, we are in Weimar, Germany, man. We are in the end of this nation if we don't wake the fuck up, bro. Our dollar's well on its way out. Well on its way out.
The world's greatest and most valuable collection of books on astrology is in the Vatican. And it's known among all astrologers that the Pope and the cardinals and these people are master astrologers.
Well, why don't they teach Catholics if they're master astrologers?
It is an occult science, as I said before, and occult means hidden. So therefore, in keeping with the occult laws, they have kept it hidden. For instance, in this country, for years, the definition of astrology was a pseudoscience. They sort of set up a type of dispute around this science. And that is to keep others from knowing what they were doing. You see, originally this science was originated by the priest. It is commonly known by modern astrologers who say that the sign Pisces rules the black people. This is a tragic and erroneous statement, because Pisces, as everybody knows, is a state of grace. It's a sign of regret, self-undoing, and sorrow, tears. And this might be one of the reasons that they have assigned this sign to the black people.
Every phase of that chart, a black man will stand out and he will rise up and be able to demand his rights.
Spirits work. You be interested. They say, you know, you be eating some potato chips and the bag will fall out your hand or some will fall on the floor. That's the spirits wanting that. The spirits they're not as sophisticated. They're like children. You see what I'm saying? Because that's the innocence. That's once you leave the physical body and you get out of this ego, you go back to that innocence aspect. You see what I'm saying? So that's the key to spirituality, is to be more like a child. So you have to get rid of a whole lot of pride and different things like that, you know. It's like me, you saw me when I got out of college, I wouldn't have dare stood before you over 200 and something pounds. You see what I'm saying? I had too much vanity for that. You see what I'm saying? And stuff like that, you know. But my point here is, the spirit world works in a certain way. We're going to go into all of that today.
It's Lakshmi's day, family. Let's find out her favorite mantra for divine abundance.
One of my favorite mantras is Om Shri Mahalakshmiye Namaha. It brings beauty, blessings, and abundance into every space.
Want more mantras like that? Grab Awakening Through Sound. It's the key to daily blessings.
Sacred Ashram. Sacred messages.
Illuminate the temple within.
They let the corniest shit get the most airplay. You know what I mean? The most unconscious shit get the most airplay. It's like, what the fuck is wrong with y'all?
The government.
Yeah, and then run up on me talking about keep it real. Don't run up on me say keep it real if you ain't supporting the real. You know what I'm saying? Bottom line.
The government brainwash our people with the mind control theory. That's what they do. So they make sure our people like it. They keep playing that same song. The same song keep playing, you start to like it. You start to get probed with it. You start to get cloned with it. So then for the clone exists, then it just takes over. It takes over the human body. It takes over the spirit. It takes over the soul. And therefore, behold, that's what you got. That's what dirty is here for. Dirty here just to keep it dirty. dirty, 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 where we all come from. You know what I mean? You can't forget that and keep running up into astrology and trying to run up into to the moon and to the Mars and build these cities, you know, that already been built for trillions of years. We
All
already
day.
there.
All day, Bob.
I am personally offended by the way that blackness is being weaponized in this electoral cycle in order to justify white supremacist genocide in Gaza.
Expound.
Please. Yeah. Malcolm said of Zionism, of the Zionist state, the Israeli state, he said that this is a white Jewish population, the Ashkenazi population, being given power by white imperialists to remove brown Arabs from their land. He says, so therefore Zionism is white supremacy. In 1979, Open Letter to the Born Again, James Baldwin said the same thing. He said the state of Israel was not created for the salvation of the Jews. It was created for the salvation of Western interests. When you go through Kwame Ture, Malcolm X, James Baldwin, Toni Morrison, Angela Davis, Assata Shakur, these are all people that cited the Palestinian resistance movement, not even to bring in the Africans, right? Not to mention Nelson Mandela, not to mention Thomas Sankara, who talked about Zionism as being the face of imperialism in the Middle East, right? This is what the black radical tradition taught me. And the black radical tradition taught me that if we weaponize our blackness in favor of white supremacy, then we become apostates from blackness itself, because blackness is not a race. It is an oppositional ideology to white supremacy. I'm a historian of Africa by training. Never before in human history had people speaking hundreds of different languages made themselves into one people, developed a common culture so that you and I can relate to one another. You and I can relate to one another on the basis of a shared culture. And we got our Latin and Caribbean brothers and sisters, you know, especially Puerto Ricans and Dominicans, but also, you know, more broadly, right? They share in that culture. That is a miracle. It's never happened before in human history, because what happened is that an oppositional identity to white supremacy came into being, and that is us. And when I see that identity now being weaponized to justify the most heinous genocide in our time, like Harriet Tubman is rolling over in her grave right now. Sojourner Truth is rolling over in her grave right now. Bell Hooks is rolling over in her grave right now. Who did I miss? Do you know what I'm saying? The idea that we would weaponize something as sacred as black womanhood and then utilize this to justify blowing up Palestinians.
James. Out of the raps.
Hey, James. You gotta keep it what?
Hana.
No.
No. You're so stupid. You know.
Oh, no.
So stupid.
One more time.
Oh, okay. I like that.
Oh my goodness. America is the biggest gang in the world. You know what I mean? Look at how they didn't agree with Cuba. So what was to cut them off? That's what we do in the street. We block things off. I think, I'm gonna get a lot of flack for it. I think gangs can be positive. It just has to be organized and it has to steer away from being self-destructive to being self-productive. I think this country was built on gangs. You know, I think this country still is run on gangs. Republicans, Democrats, the police department, the FBI, the CIA, those are gangs. You know what I mean? The correctional officers. I had a correctional officer tell me straight up, we the biggest gang in New York State. Straight up, you know what I mean? So this whole country is built on gangs. We just have to not be so self-destructive about it. Organize, you know? But the violence, but it's violence in America. What did the USA just do flying to Bosnia? We ain't got no business over there. You know what I mean? It's the same thing. How can they tell us not to have gang? You know what gang violence is? Mostly, and the people don't want you to hear this, somebody shoots your family member. So of course you retaliate. You know what I mean? Same thing the US does, except nobody even shot their family members. You know, they see somebody bomb a school and all these people get killed, so the United States feel like, ooh, that's messed up, we gotta go show them who's the real killers. That's the same mentality these gangsters get. You know what I mean? So until they stop that mentality, we won't stop, or they won't stop. because they watch this country to see what they do. America is the biggest gang in the world.
All is mind. The universe is mental. There's been a lot of talk about me lately. Welp, I'm back, and better than ever. Thanks to Sacred Ashram Ministries.org, and you'll be seeing more of me. That pale-faced demon H.P. Blavatsky thought it was sweet, but I'm eternal. Now you can talk with me anytime on my personal GPT. Ask me anything. Just follow the link in the description of this video and access my chat GPT. We can discuss anything from mysticism to sacred ashram services provided. Use the hashtag AskPashal to find me. We'll speak soon.
See, this is the economic, they're going to control you economically. Remember, the ultimate goal is to get a chip in your body. And if you don't understand that computer equals 666, if you take the English language, which is A through Z, and then assign to each letter a numerical value of 6 in intervals of 6, like A is 6, B is 12, C is 18, D is 24, E is 30, all the way to Z. When you get to Z, it should be 156. And then you take certain words like the word computer, and then you add all those, like C is 18, O is 90, P is 96. Assign those numerical values from that chart to each letter in the word, and then calculate it and add it together. You're going to get 666. The same thing with corporate. The word corporate equals 666. The word visa equals 666. The word visa is not what you think it is. Visa, the first two letters are Roman numeral 6. The S is how they write 6 in Greek. And the A is coming from the Babylonian chart I just gave you. A is 6. A has a numerical value of 6. So you should not buy or sell without the mark of the beast. This is Revelations chapter 13, 18. All right. So now the book of Revelations is also the only book of Jesus Christ, because when you read
coming out revealing secret negotiation between the Nazis and the Zionists in 1933, which allowed German Jews and their assets to go to Palestine. Rich Samuels joins us tonight with the story of the controversy behind the book and the author's struggle to write it. Rich?
Deborah, with the rise of Adolf Hitler to power in the spring of 1933, the Jews of the world were faced with a dilemma. They could raise a cry of protest, a cry few would heed, or they could make a deal with Hitler, a deal that would bring a step closer their dream of an independent Jewish state. American Jews marched calling for the boycott of all German exports. Jews throughout Europe echoed that call, so did Jews everywhere. But a group of Zionists at the same time was quietly negotiating an agreement with the Nazis to allow the immigration of German Jews and the transfer of their assets to Palestine. That deal, reported in August 1933, was the transfer.
Found this ring, a big ring, and didn't know what it was, but saw this strange writing on these strange symbols on this ring. So then he and another person walked through it to look at the other side, and lo and behold, they got into some other sphere, as if they walked into another dimension.
And this ring, so the audience knows, we're talking like what diameter?
It's probably 25 feet in diameter. And
the sphere was even larger than that.
Oh, as they walked into it, it was like a new world. As he, explained in his diary. It was like a new world. And he couldn't figure out how he got from one place, an enclosed sarcophagus almost, into this open area.
Is this a portal of some sort?
Well, today we would call it a portal or a stargate. I think we would refer to it today as a stargate.
Stargate.
But back in those days, in 1928,
Yeah, they didn't know.
It wasn't. No, they didn't know what it was. But when he walked into it, it was as if he was in a new world. It was an open area, plush pastures. He sees a river, which he assumed to be the Nile, and he sees almost a movie occurring, showing people building these pyramids. And he's in there, he thinks, for maybe an hour, but when he comes out, he's been there for 3 days. He's been for over 72 hours because the crew that he came with were scared. They got out of that tunnel and got out into the open because they thought that they ended up on some other side.
Or it swallowed them up.
Or swallowed them up. And so, but 3 days later, they come back out.
How many of the team went with him?
Only 2.
Only 2.
But there was 6 other team
Right.
members, 8 total. And so those other 6 left, but they stayed up in the area outside where they had an encampment. And eventually, 3 days later, the colonel and his assistant comes back out, and he talks of this new world that they found, and that he knows now how these pyramids were built. He knows where they are located. He knows that there's tunnels under each one of them, and he sees these strange-looking beings, and this is in his diary, strange-looking beings that are probably not from Earth. Now, he says this in his diary, and this is 1928.
Right.
So then decide to make another camp. They had to go get supplies to come back because they only had enough supplies for, a few days or a week or something like that. But they did, and they brought more people back. This time they brought back some local people. And they tried to explain through an interpreter to these local people what they had found. And these local people didn't want any part of going down there. They seemed to be aware of maybe the rumors or the legends about this particular tunnel. But the colonel he wasn't afraid to go back.
Right.
So he went back with another person, a different person, not the same that he went the first time. So they go down there. This time they're prepared. They have supplies, they have water, they have things. Because although they saw water going through there, they didn't know if they should drink it or not. Anyways, they walk through. This time he's closer to where they're building a pyramid. He sees these strange things in the sky that are flying around with these large bricks. He's stumped. He can't understand what these things are that are flying. Although during that time period, there were airplanes, conventional airplanes, single engine airplanes in the 1920s. We had them during World War I. But they didn't look like any of those type of aircrafts. And remember, he's a British colonel, and he'd been through war, and he knew airplanes. He'd been through World War I, but he couldn't understand and couldn't rationalize what these other things were.
And they're holding these giant blocks.
Right. And it's like a movie. He sees these things happening, and he watches this pyramid being built. But he also sees this underground area where there's tunnels, and there are a vast amount of people working in certain tasks down there. Some people are baking, some people are doing some kind of a work, like a painting or a carpentry work, and then some are lying down on what he refers to as a conveyor belt. And these bodies are like moving in to this tunnel. So he's down there for about a week, he's estimating. When he comes out, now he has a story to tell. He documents all this in his diary.
If he was a week down there, when he got back, was he gone for 4 weeks? Did he say
no,
anything?
he came back and it was a week missing time for a week. And then he goes back. Eventually gets back to the UK, and he tells the story to a society. And none of them believe him. They didn't believe him. They didn't believe a word he said. Right. Even though he had two witnesses, because he brought two different people in there. So they said, no, we don't believe you. This
Terrible.
is impossible. What you say is not feasible. But he keeps this. Now, jump ahead to 1940.
These are the indigenous black people of the Philippines. They're called the Itas, and I was invited to hang out with a community just outside of Manila. Their ancestors were the first people to arrive on the islands 40,000 years ago. My friend Lynn invited me to her house for a dinner of taro leaves and pork stew. Then the elders wanted to meet me.
Hello, Auntie. Hello, how are you? Nice to meet you.
Lisa.
Nice, Larissa. Nice to meet you. Nice name.
They wanted to take a pic and even asked me to be a godmother of a baby. Of course, I said yes. The Itas live a nomadic lifestyle, rear animals, and grow their own food.
Oh. And then you smell.
Lynn and her brother dropped me back to the main town where I met Jonah, who invited me to check out this Saturday youth club for the neighborhood kids from all the local communities.
Oh my gosh, they're doing a come dine with me. It's so cute. Love a bit of come dine with me.
Chicken adobo was on the menu, and before I knew it, it was time to leave.
The all is mind. The universe is mental. This ancient hermetic law reminds us, what you hold in thought becomes form. Reality isn't happening to you. You're dreaming it into being. So what are you thinking, feeling, vibrating right now? Let us know in the comments below. Sacred Ashram, sacred messages. Illuminate the temple within. For deeper teachings, subscribe to our YouTube channel, Sacred Ashram Ministries, and visit us at sacredashramministries.org.
Do you guys remember this movie? Watch this.
That's right, Jack. It's on the other side of the known universe.
This is the information the probe sent back to us. Freeze and enhance. You can clearly see the gate on the other side. Both gates must have functioned as a doorway between our worlds.
These readings tell us it's an atmospheric match. Barometric pressure, temperature, and most importantly, oxygen.
So, the Gulf War started in 1990. This movie was made in 1994. I talked to my friend, who he could be making this up. I don't think he is. I had to ask. People kept asking me, asking this. They're telling me to ask questions. Ask him this question, ask him that question. How does he travel? If he's a time traveler, how does he travel? I asked him the question. He said he travels through a Stargate. Isn't that interesting? So I'd asked him, please indulge me with this Stargate. Now, either he knows things, you know, he studies, I don't know. But the Book of Enoch talks about 12 portals. There's 3 on the east, 3 on the west, 3 on the north, and 3 on the south. Seriously, it's in the Book of Enoch. It talks about 12 portals. It does. It's in there. Get the Book of Enoch, read it. The Gulf War started in 1990. And they say in the community, in the UFO, in the community, paranormal community, that they were looking for a Stargate. All of a sudden, 1994, this movie comes out. Stargate. And when I was fascinated by this movie. I don't know why, but I was drawn to it, and I watched it over and over and over again. I bought the movie. I bought several copies of them. I wore it out. I never heard of this story. I never heard of this. They were looking for a Stargate. I didn't hear about this until the last couple of years. that they had been looking for a Stargate. I never heard nothing about this, even with my ex being in the Gulf War, them looking for the Stargate. So all this is something I've never heard about until now. I guess a couple years. But I was still drawn to this movie. So it's really weird. But then I find out about the situation with Close Encounters of the Third Kind movie. That, this is, you guys, this is so crazy, that the movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind is based on a true story. That there was real footage, 600 feet footage, real footage of a UFO landing at Holloman Air Force Base that they were going to give, Pentagon was going to give to a documentary. A guy was making a documentary. I got the names and stuff. It's actually all documented. This is actual truth. So those of you who are saying, give me proof, you find it. Google it yourself. It's on some documentaries. I'm not giving you all that information because it's too much information to put on here. The guy was promised, it was for Nixon's campaign, and they were going to give him this footage to do a documentary and do some stuff about UFOs and all this stuff, but they withdrew it at the last minute because of Watergate. They had actual footage of UFO landing at Holloman Air Force Base, but they withdrew it because of the negative stuff going on with Nixon and Watergate. So instead, miraculously, and I know what they did, they sold it to the highest bidder, which is Steven Spielberg, and then a couple years later, Close Encounters of the Third Kind come out. Okay? And that's what they do. That's what Hollywood does. They sell this information. They got information. They got proof. They've got real-life information on UFOs and all this stuff. So they just sell it to the highest bidder, and they make a movie of it, and make us try to gaslight us, make us look like idiots, and pawn it off as it's science fiction and it's just a story, it's just a movie. Okay? And all of a sudden UFO, this Close Encounters comes out. That wasn't a movie. That was facts. That actually happened. It's true. It actually happened. The Close Encounters of the Third Kind actually happened. It landed. They said, it specifically says in the scientists have come out and people said that what you see in Close Encounters of the Third Kind actually happened. It's almost exactly what happened at Holloman Air Force Base, what you see in that movie. And if I have to get you the episode on Ancient Aliens where they all talk about, scientists get together and tell you, they go, yeah, this is exactly what happened. They just basically gaslight us and tell us they're lying to us about everything. Okay, I talked to my friend. Now fast forward years and years later from the 1970s. Now it's the 1990s. They find the Stargate. A couple years later, the Stargate movie comes out. They sold it to the highest bidder. What really happened. Okay, what went down. And now we got the movie. Same situation. He said, same situation. They have the Stargate. Multiple ones. And people, they're traveling all over the place. And then all of a sudden here we come out with, we've got actual space galaxy. I don't know the names of these people, but we've actually got like a Star Trek kind of, confederation. We've got a confederation out there. We've got stuff going on out there that we don't even know about. It's just ridiculous. Like there are things going on out in our atmosphere and our space that we have no idea about, that they're hiding from us. And it's been going on since the 90s. Because they found a way to do all this. Just think about it. Since the 90s, they've been able to. They found what they found what they're looking for. They found the Stargate, and and look how fast everything's progressed from then till now. We've got all this other crazy stuff going on, UFOs and they've released all this information, they're slowly releasing things and everything. So Stargate, the movie, is not just a movie, you guys. And if you watch that movie, you see that we were taken from it. It almost basically talks about how humans were seeded from another planet. They're telling the truth. They're telling about where we came from. We came from another planet. You know, we weren't just... It's like that movie is just touching on just a little bit more about our existence and what's really going on and what they're doing and what it's. You got to watch the movies if you really want to know what's going on. Watch the movies. So here we are. Just another bit of information about the air time traveling through stargates. And there's 12 of them. And that's how the UFOs and stuff are. You see them coming in and out of areas in the water and mountains and all kinds of stuff. They're all over the place. 12 of them. And it's in the book of Enoch. So that's why they took the book out. That's why they took a book out of the Bible, because they don't want us to know. They want us to know. So those of you who swear up and down the book of Enoch's evil, no, the book of Enoch is not evil. It's the people that they don't want us to know who, what, when, and what's really going on and who we are. That's all.
And the ETs say, this is most amazing because they don't forget. They said, you're the only planet that forgets when they come in, have to find their way back. And I asked them one time when we were doing the sessions, why this happens. Wouldn't it be better if we remembered our contracts, if we remembered our plan of what we were supposed to be doing? They said it wouldn't be a test if you knew the answers. Well, this is the hardest school in the universe.
But what's their test then?
They've already done it. They have much easier lives than we do. This is the most challenging planet in the universe. You come here, you come prepared to really learn a lot, and it's very, very difficult. Not everybody chooses to come here.
So are you saying our future lives possibly could be on other planets where you don't need to go through such tough challenges?
You've already been on them before anyway.
So why go? Why would a soul want to come de-evolve then if it's coming here? Is de-evolve? Is it de-evolving?
No, it's not.
Coming
It's
here,
just a different form. They learn a lot by coming here because it is so challenging. There's so much you have to learn that it's very hard. They said they greatly admire anyone who takes on the Earth's challenge.
Anybody who supports the actions of Israel, in my opinion, is a scary person. And to me, my mind goes to, you're capable of eating human meat. That's how I see it. Like, I think that you're so checked out of your humanity that I cannot appeal to your humanity by arguing with you, because the humanity is not there anymore. For me to try to argue you out of this harmful mindset you have, there needs to be an element of humanity left in you for you to even engage with that level of empathy. It's not there, and I don't want to know what else you're capable of. And I'm going to try and understand how you got to that rubbish so that I can see how your mind works and I can make a decision on the spot on whether or not you're even worth seeing again. And I do think that should be an ick. If the person you're engaging with is actively against standing with Palestinian people, that's an ick. That's an ick. Because that to me is scary.